Disclosure. I am not a doctor. I have not been medically trained. Do not take anything that I say as medically trained facts. I always encourage you to do your own research and to explore your own body. Everything that I share is based on my own research and my own exploration of my own body. If you feel any pain, discomfort, notice any abnormalities, infection, or are unsure about anything to do with your anatomy, please visit a professional gynecologist. Welcome to Vulva Anatomy. I have got my beautiful vulva castings here done by Vulva, which I will link below, and my vulva puppet and my clitoris puppet crocheted by Wild Pixie Crochet. So shout out to the sisters that are in the Feminine Rising community and helping to encourage education and empowerment with these beautiful tools. I want to start by sharing with you the correct words to use for your downstairs parts. At the top is your mons pubis. So the part of your genitalia that starts growing pubic hair once you begin going through puberty. So you'll see behind me there is diagrams here with labels for each part. I'm going to be using my vulva puppet throughout today, but you can always refer to back there as well. So your mons pubis at the very top. This is here. I don't know if you can see the detail, but this mold here actually still has pubic hair on it, and you might be able to see it. This part here is your mons pubis. So we've all been told that our lady bits, our down there, our private parts, is called our vagina. But actually our external genitalia below our mons pubis is our vulva. So vagina is actually referring to the internal canal that leads up to the uterus. So since learning this a couple of years ago, I really try my best to call this my vulva when I'm referring to any of these external parts of my anatomy, and to use the correct terminology, especially if I am teaching or speaking to younger children. I think it's really important to not only use the correct terminology when you're speaking to young girls, young women, but also to boys, educating boys on what is the correct terminology. So knowing the correct names to your most intimate parts is empowering. Knowledge is our power, and sisters, it's between our legs. So the vulva is your external genitalia, and the vagina is referring to the opening and the internal canal. Something else that I feel is really important and I want to speak on is that every vulva is going to look different. Just like our faces, we all have different appearance, different facial features. Our vulvas are no different to this. They come in all shapes and sizes, colors, textures, smells, and they're all perfectly beautiful. If you haven't yet read Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski, then I definitely recommend that you do so. It looks like this. Now, she repeats herself throughout this book, this incredible book, and she says that we all have the exact same parts, we're just organized in different ways. And I love this saying because it is so true. It's not fair what the media, magazines, porn, modeling industry have tricked us into believing our whole lives, how our vulvas should look, that they should be these cute little compact, tucked in, hairless, non-smelling, one color toned little packages. And if they're not, then we should be ashamed, embarrassed. People won't find them attractive. We won't find love. So on and so on. Absolute bullshit. Your vulva is perfect just the way it is. And if that description I just said is exactly how you would describe your natural vulva, beautiful. She's just as worthy as if that description I shared is the exact opposite of how you'd describe your vulva. So before we get into our anatomy lesson, I wanted to stress to you that your vulva is beautiful. It is worthy of pleasure and love and attention, no matter how it looks. It is going to take some time, maybe even a long time, to unlearn our subconscious mind from all of the toxic information shared to us about our own private parts. But it's time to start forming an intimate relationship with your vulva. Observing your body can help you learn what normal is for you. So I also want to invite you to look at her with a mirror. Start to feel all the beautiful crevices, understand the anatomy, what is normal for you, so that maybe in the future, if an abnormality arises, you know the difference. So for this anatomy class, I invite you to grab yourself a hand mirror. Or if you don't have a hand mirror, sit in front of a wall mirror with your legs open. And I really encourage you to look at your beautiful vulva. And as I share the anatomy with you, to find these places within your body, learn the names of these places and where they sit for your own unique landscape. So if you are doing this, you're able to follow along with the video today. Make sure that you have privacy and enough time to relax into this. If you can't do it today, don't worry. You can just listen and come back and rewatch this video with the mirror when you have the time. Maybe this is going to encourage you to actually go out and buy a hand mirror specifically for yoni gazing. I like to lay on my bed with my back supported by pillows, my knees bent, and holding my hand mirror in between my legs. You can also squat over a mirror for different angles, and as long as you are comfortable. You can also bring a torch or a little flashlight along, set up your ring light, make sure you're somewhere nice and bright so you can see all the beautiful parts of you. And while you're doing this exercise, remember to be kind for yourself, kind to yourself. If you've never looked at your vulva up close and personal before, a lot can come to the surface. Feelings of shame, disgust, repulsion, sadness, they are all normal. And if you're not yet ready to look at your vulva like this, that's okay. Honor your boundaries for today. I will make another video where I will guide you through a sacred yoni gazing ritual. So if you aren't quite ready today, then don't worry. One last thing. If you have a mirror and you're going to touch and explore your vulva along with me today, spend a moment here asking your yoni, your vulva, your whole area for consent to be touched. Talk to her, explain what your intentions are, and practice that sacred exchange of asking and giving consent. We are always using these classes as opportunities to build healthy and loving relationships with our bodies. So, okay, let's get into it. Grab your mirror, maybe some skin-friendly oil, and let's start at the top. So we've got our mons pubis. So as you can also see here on my beautiful castings, this is another just example of how different we can all look. So I really want you to, if you can, see the details here of how beautiful these three yonis are. Mine's in there, you know. So our mons pubis at the top. You can also follow this diagram behind me. Usually covered in pubic hair after puberty is reached. Your mons pubis is the soft, sometimes fatty tissue that sits on top of your pubic bone. So if you were to press here with your fingers, you can feel the bone underneath, and this is part of your pelvic girdle. So while both sexes have a mons pubis, it's more prominent in females. It also contains glands that secrete pheromones once you reach puberty. So these are substances involved in sexual attraction. So moving down, we've got the glans clitoris tip and the clitoral hood. So starting from the front, right below the mons pubis, we have the inner lips that join to form a soft fold of skin or the hood covering the tip of the glans clitoris. So this hood is designed to protect the clitoris. It's the equivalent to the male foreskin. So not every woman has a clitoral hood. They come in vast ranges from a lot of skin where maybe you can't even see the clitoris tip unless you pull it back, or just a little amount of skin that might sit around the tip. So remember, your body is perfect just the way it is, and you should always visit a medical professional if you are feeling any discomfort or pain. So if you've got your mirror there and you've got your oil, you can pull back the hood to view the tip of your clitoris. You can use your two fingers, your middle and your pointer, and just slowly spread the skin. moving it back so you can see your clitoris. Be gentle, move slowly. This part of the clitoris, which we can see, is just the tip of the entire gland and is the most sensitive to sexual stimulation. Thousands and thousands of nerve endings live here, and that's why this spot for most women is the go-to for self-pleasure. Now, the size of the clitoris can range from small as a pearl to a fair-sized gherkin and anywhere in between. It's all beautiful, it's all normal. So what we usually don't know is that the bit that we see is just the very, very tip of the clitoris. So putting my little yoni puppet down. Ooh, stay there, girl. We have the clitoris. So you can also see the diagram behind me there of the clitoris. So I spent most of my life believing that my clitoris was literally just that little nub that I can see and touch at the top of my vulva. Holy shit, was I missing out on a lot of pleasure. The clitoris is actually so much bigger than what we see externally, and it is the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. This is the whole clitoris. This is what we see. This is what we don't see. It spreads down from the part we see either side of the labia and divides into two parts, spreading out wishbone style, right, in a much wider angle to form the two anchoring wingtips of erectile tissue that attach to the pelvic bones. So the clitoris is composed of three parts: the clitoral tip and shaft, a pair of legs called the crura that extend deep within the tissues of the vulva, and then the bulbs, these beautiful little pink bits here, also known as the vestibular bulbs. So if this is sitting within your vulva, this is what we would see, right? This is the head of the clitoris, and this sits behind all of this. Incredible. So the bulbs extend from the head of the clitoris deep inside the tissue of the vulva, then spread to actually straddle the urethra and the vagina. So behind here, it's the top of your clitoris, and spreading out behind your lips. So that's right, it spreads all the way and extends all the way down to your vaginal opening. In self-pleasure, a lot of us are so used to rubbing and focusing on the little nub that we can see and feel. But I invite you, next time you self-pleasure, or even right now, using a skin-friendly, safe oil, start to feel, avoid this little tip for a moment and start to feel the shaft. Start to massage and enjoy the entire clitoris, rubbing your fingers down in between the folds of your inner and outer labia, and feel the whole gland. So the vestibular bulbs, these are two bundles of erectile tissue called the bulbs of the vestibule. The bulbs, along with the whole clitoris, become firm and filled with blood during sexual arousal, as do the walls of the vagina. So this whole section of your body, internal and external, can change color, shape, size, smell, texture, during and after arousal and orgasm. So it's a fun little exercise to look at your vulva before, during, and after sex or self-pleasure to see how your body responds and reacts to the stimulation and to orgasm. So putting away our beautiful little clip puppet, bringing back our vulva, we've got the labia minora and the labia majora. So this is essentially your inner and your outer lips. So labia majora refers to the outer labia. Labia minora refers to your inner labia or your lips. So I don't really like using the terms majora and minora because I don't feel that that terminology is all inclusive. So majora, meaning major, assumes that your outer labia are going to be bigger, right? So minora, meaning minor, assumes that your inner labia, your lips, are going to be smaller than your outer labia. And for a lot of women, myself included, my labia minora, the inside lips, they actually extend out beyond my outer lips. For some women, their inner lips are tucked away within their outer lips and can only be seen when you actually open up the outer labia and look for them. So for me, I prefer to say outer rather than majora and inner rather than minora. Also, your inner lips may be one color, or they may show a gradient of colors darkening towards the tips. You might have one that's bigger than the other. All of this is normal and healthy and beautiful. Long, short, pink, brown, dark, light, smooth, wrinkled. It is all uniquely yours. So your outer labia is usually where you will grow pubic hair. It'll continue to grow here. And for some women, this part has a lot of hair spreading down towards the inner thighs and the anus. And for some, there might be hardly any hair. Some lips might be puffy and protruding, while other lips might be close to the body. So I want to do a little close-up here on some of these vulvas for you, so you can see the difference. So you can see here that this beautiful woman, her inner labia are tucked in. I hope that you can see. So she has her outer labia covering her inner labia. You can see here the inner labia is extended out past the outer labia. And with this woman, you can see a little bit of both. It's naturally open a bit more, and it's beautiful. Okay, so using your skin-friendly oil, I encourage you to touch these parts of your vulva, exploring your unique and gorgeous landscape. Take some time here with your oil and your mirror and look and feel your inner and outer labia. Massage your lips softly. Look at the nuances. Pull them, stretch them, discover what your normal is. So as I said, my inner lips actually hang out of my outer lips, which most people call an outie. For so many years, I was embarrassed by this, and I would actually physically tuck my inner lips into my outer lips so that my pussy didn't look like it had a tongue sticking out and it was all together and compact. It is such a shame that the cultural view of our labia doesn't actually match the anatomical reality for most of us women. The vulvas that we see in porn have been covered in makeup, digitally edited, bleached so that it's all the exact same color tone, and some of them have even had elective surgery to portray that symmetrical, tucked in look. So this, as well as models we see wearing bikinis that just have no crease to show where their vaginal lips are, and everything is flush and close to the body, that's led us to believe as young girls and into womanhood, to have preconceived ideas of what our vulvas are supposed to look like. So this beautiful vulva here with the outie lips is actually me. And it's taken me a long time to look at that and honor that with love. And I want to state once more that if you do have that naturally hairless, one-tone tucked in vagina, like this beautiful one right here, you are absolutely perfect and your genitals are perfect. So I know it's going a little bit off our vulva anatomy topic, but I think it's a good time to mention labiaplasty. If you haven't heard of this before, labiaplasty is a surgical procedure, and the procedure aims to decrease the size of the labia minora, these little outie bits that I was showing you, so that you can have a vagina that looks like this. It's basically, if I said, I'm so ashamed of this, I want you to cut them off so I look like this. This is what we have been kind of tricked and trained and taunted into believing as women. It's just ridiculous. And so this procedure involves utilizing different surgical techniques depending on what the patient actually wants, the specific situation. But yes, it's essentially cutting away your lips so that your pussy is compact and nothing is hanging out. Ouch. Okay, this makes me sick to my stomach that the world has made us feel so ashamed, embarrassed, and alienated out by having lips that might stick out further, whether it's a little bit or a lot. So we aren't taught that our vulvas are beautiful and normal exactly the way they are. And if we were shown vulvas as we were growing up and we could see how unique they all are, maybe we'd feel a little bit differently about our own anatomy. But like growing up there's so much secrecy around our genitals. We're kind of shown to always cover them up and aren't really encouraged to be curious. So unless you are feeling pain or you have infections or a lot of discomfort or anything like that, seek medical advice from a professional that you trust to give you their honest opinion. A lot of doctors actually don't even know this much about vulvas, so please find someone that you trust and don't go chopping parts of her off because you've been told that your vulva isn't beautiful. Only if you have medical issues. Never change your body to the aesthetics of somebody else. Okay, moving on. The urethra. This little hole up here above the vaginal opening and below the clitoris is your urethra. This is where your urine comes from. So a passage above the vagina opening. You can have a look with your mirror now. Spread your lips wide and lift up a little bit, lifting the skin up, and you will see a little hole just above your vaginal opening. And then we've got the vulva vestibule. So the area between the labia minora and the urethra opening and is the vulva vestibule. So it begins just below the clitoris and ends around the vaginal opening. So it is this area here. Okay, so the vulva vestibule contains the opening to the urethra and the vaginal opening. The borders of the vulva vestibule are formed from the edges of the labia minora. So the border between the vulva vestibule and the labia minora is called Hart's lines. Hart's lines identify the change from the vulva vestibule to the labia minora. It's a mouthful. So this change of skin appearance is visible by the smoother transitional skin appearance of the vulva vestibule to the vulva appearance of the labia minora. Good Lord, you know what I mean. It's like a smoother, softer, more spread out piece of skin right here. So then we've got the Skene's glands. The Skene's glands, which are also known as the lesser vestibular glands, which is the same as prostate glands for males. They are two little glands located on either side of the urethra. So your wee hole, your urethra on either side here, two little glands, Skene's glands. So these glands secrete a substance to lubricate the urethra opening. So this substance is also to act as an antimicrobial and is used to prevent urinary tract infections. So our vaginas are self-healing, self-cleaning. They know exactly what's going on, and unless you have an imbalance in your pH, your vagina knows what to do. Never use those femme fresh vagina cleaning, scenting things. Oh my God, you'll just throw everything such out of whack. So your Skene's glands are the source of female ejaculation during sexual arousal and during orgasm. So the opening of the Skene's glands sit on either side of your urethra, and the glands themselves sit tucked inside the front wall of your vagina, right at the G-spot, which is in and behind. So the fluid that comes from these glands is released through your pee hole, but it is not pee. This is your female ejaculation, which is also known as emeryta. And if you were to look up emeryta, it has a beautiful meaning, nectar of the goddess. So any squirters out there, I want you to know that this fluid, your emeryta fluid, is nectar of the goddess. Moving down, we then have the Bartholin's glands. So the Bartholin's glands, also known as the greater vestibular glands, are two pea-sized glands located slightly lateral and posterior to the vaginal opening. The function of these two glands is to secrete a mucus-like substance into the vagina and within the borders of the labia minora. So this mucus acts as a lubricant to decrease friction during intercourse and as a moisturizer for your vulva. So to the left and right of the vaginal opening, there are two teeny tiny holes on the vulva. That's them. So compared to the normal discharge that comes and goes throughout your cycle, the fluid that's produced by your Bartholin's glands is a lot slicker and thinner so that it can spread more easily to your vaginal walls, your labia, your clitoris, which makes sex more comfortable. And then we have the vaginal opening. So the opening to your vagina where penises and fingers go and babies come out. This one's a pretty obvious one. Inside on the roof is your G-spot. So inside, up onto the roof of your vaginal canal, you'll find your G-spot or your G-zone. So for a lot of women, it isn't just a spot. It's a zone of pleasure. So I know that most people refer to it as the G-spot, but for today, I'd like to call it the G-zone. It is different for every woman. Sometimes it's placed really close to the entrance of the vagina, and sometimes it's a bit further back. So you usually can't feel your G-zone unless you are turned on, because it is also erectile tissue. So when you're feeling turned on, your G-spot, your G-zone swells, and you can feel it with your fingers. It feels like the roof of your mouth, or imagine like a walnut. So it's kind of ridged and bumpy, and it can range in length from a few centimeters to a couple of inches. So next time you are self-pleasuring, or right now, if you have been exploring your body and you have been enjoying it and you are starting to feel turned on, see if you can feel it. You can use one finger or two, make sure you've got your skin-friendly lube, and insert your fingers into your vagina and feel the top, kind of like you're doing a come hither little movement with your fingers, and you should be able to feel your G-spot. Moving down again, we've got the perineum. So this is the part here below your vagina, vaginal opening, and before your anus. So the term perineum, or I know some people say perineum, it's used to describe the area between the external genitalia and the anal hole, your bum hole. And for women, it acts as a tear-resistant body between the vagina and the external anal sphincter, so supporting the posterior part of the vaginal wall against prolapse. So it also supports the pelvic floor, the bottom of the pelvic cavity that holds in your intestines, your bladder, and other internal organs. And these muscles and nerves that run through this small area control sexual function and your urinary and excretory systems. So it's a big host of muscles and nerves here that do so much for us. And then moving back a little bit more, which I don't have on here, is your anus. So this is where your poo comes from. For most of us, we're afraid of our anus. We're afraid of our bumhole. We aren't taught that this is just as sacred as a place as the vagina is and the vulva. But I'd love to invite you all to explore your anus and the huge amount of pleasure potential that resides here. We automatically label this part of our bodies dirty because of the natural waste that comes from here. But women who actually surrender into exploring this area sexually and experience anal orgasms, they say that it is some of the most powerful orgasms they've ever had. So anal orgasming is an amazing topic for another video, but let's sum this up. We've got the mons pubis, we've got the clitoral tip and the hood, the clitoral shaft, the legs known as the crura, the vestibular bulbs, we've got the inner and outer labia, we've got the vulvar vestibule, we've got the urethra, the Skene's glands, the Bartholin's glands, the vaginal opening, the G-spot, the perineum, and then the anus. So your mons pubis is beautiful and perfect. Your vulva is beautiful and perfect. Your vagina is beautiful and perfect. And your anus is beautiful and perfect. And I hope that you have followed me with your mirror and your oil today and have shared this intimate time getting to know your beautiful anatomy. If it was really difficult for you to look at your vulva with love and appreciation, then I want you to reach out in the Facebook group and share your experience. You are not alone. The first time I looked at my vulva, really looked at it, I cried and cried and cried. I cried for the moments that I disrespected her, the years I spent calling her names, the shame that I felt for having an outie. The more I looked at my vulva and practiced conscious love and awareness and affection towards her, the more I fell in love with her and the more I fell in love with the way that she looked. Every single detail is mine and mine alone. Also, having a partner who looks at your vulva and sees her beauty is important for your own confidence as well. If you are allowing someone access to your sacred garden, your sacred temple, who does not treat her as a goddess and does not view her as beautiful, I say cut them off. They are not worthy and don't deserve to even be in her presence. If you have a partner, I've got an exercise that you can do at home. Allow your partner to just look at your vulva. If they are a man, they probably have never been given the chance to look up close to like a real vulva before. Let them explore, let them use oil, let them touch, let them play, let them open it up, let them have a look. Only, of course, if you give consent to this and it feels right for your body in that moment. If you are in a partnership with a woman, or if you have a girlfriend that you are really comfortable with, then maybe you can do a little show and swap. You can give them the opportunity to look at your vulva and how unique it is, and then you can look at hers and just see how beautiful they are. Remember, we all have the same parts, just put together a little bit differently. So, if you haven't got any girlfriends to do this with, you haven't got a partner, do yourself a favor and carve out that sacred time to do it with yourself. Get your mirror, get your oil, and be gentle. Also, do yourself a favor and check out thevulvagallery.com. This is a great website where an artist has drawn all different kinds of vulvas, different shapes, different sizes, different colors, different textures, everything. So if you aren't sure that your vulva is normal and beautiful, then I really, really encourage you to go and have a look at just how different and unique all vulvas are. So that's thevulvagallery.com. So, beautiful women, I hope that you have enjoyed this anatomy class. I hope that you have enjoyed learning a little bit more about your body, seeing how unique and individual we all are and how beautiful we all are. And if you are interested in getting your vulva casting done, I'm sure there's women all over the world that do it, but if you are based near me in Brisbane, then Claire from Vulviel is incredible. I remember when I first got this done, I wasn't nervous. I'm used to doing naked projects. I'm used to being naked in front of women, and I've stared at my yoni for many, many hours. But when I received my cast from Claire and I opened it up and I looked at it, I was shocked. And I don't mean good shocked. I mean, I was triggered. Old wounds came up when I looked at this, and I had to stare at it, and I had to remind myself how beautiful and unique this is. Because our vulvas, the look of them changes. It depends on the weather, where we are in our cycle, whether we're turned on or not, you know, the clothes that we're wearing, is it breathable, is it hot, is it cold? And obviously, like the day that I got this done, this is what it looked like. I could go back today and it would look completely different. So it really is an act of self-love and self-acceptance and true empowerment to go and get your vulva cast. And I do have another one on my altar over here, which I worship. So there you are, my beautiful sisters. I hope you have enjoyed this class, and I will see you again very soon.